Welcome to the Fleet Geeks podcast. We're here to help develop fleet and transport professionals. Do you want to progress and develop your skills and knowledge? We promise to bring lively conversation and debate around interesting issues and keep you bang up to date with changes in our awesome industry. The Fleet Geeks are a community of professionals, and if you enjoy the podcast, why not join the discussion for free in the Fleet Geek community over on Facebook. Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Fleet Geeks podcast. I'm absolutely delighted that you're joining me to have a listen to today's podcast, and I hope that you find this episode useful. Hopefully it's good for, I always try to find the balance with these podcasts around making sure that I'm giving plenty for those experienced listeners amongst you, but also offering value for people who are newly qualified and the less experienced as well. So today's a bit of a sanity check. I thought about doing, and I get asked all the time, what policies do I need for my fleet operation? So I thought I'd come up with my top 10 policies that every HGV transport manager should have or must have. Okay, so here's my top 10 policies that every HGV transport manager must have. The first is a driver's hours and working time policy. It defines the rules and the company stance on their tacho use, rest breaks, working time, and how infringements are going to be managed. This helps keep you compliant with EU and GB driver's hours laws, as well as the Working Time Directive. You may want to include in this policy how drivers will be trained, monitored, and disciplined for any repeat infringements. Okay, so this is your driver time and working time policy. You could have it with infringements in there as well, and showing how discipline may occur. The second one I've set up, and by the way, these 10 policies aren't exhaustive. There are more, for example, there's a maintenance policy lower down, but we'll talk about it in a bit anyway. But for now, the second one is vehicle defect and daily walkaround check policy. So this sets the standard for pre-use inspections, defect reporting, rectification, and sign-off. The purpose of this is it demonstrates your safety-first culture and keeps your vehicles roadworthy. It requires checks before every shift and after any trailer swaps, for example, with photos if you're using a digital system. Where preferable, I recommend having a digital system, and if you want to speak to us about one, you're more than welcome to. We have a system at Flagship that we use, which we highly recommend. But the vehicle defect and daily walk-around check policy is that basic policy around making sure the drivers have a daily check and making sure that the defects are rectified. Okay, so that's your second key policy of the 10. The third one is roadworthiness and maintenance. And this outlines how you as the operator will ensure that vehicles are maintained, inspected and repaired. The purpose of this is it links directly to your OCRS score and the DVSA earned recognition standards if you have that as well. Includes the frequency of PMI, MOT planning, use of approved workshops and your escalation process for defects, as well as things like your MOT pass rate and those kinds of things will all form part of this roadworthiness and maintenance policy, which is the third on the list. So next up, we've got the driver conduct and behaviour policy. So this covers the expectations around professionalism, language, dress, customer interaction, and incident reporting. It's your fourth most important policy based on this feedback that I'm giving you. And the purpose for this is it protects your reputation and ensures consistent behaviour across the fleet. A tip for this is to tie this into your disciplinary process for breaches like mobile phone use, speeding, fixed penalty notices, those kinds of things. But this fourth policy is around driver conduct and behaviour, clearly outlining what you expect around uniform, language, the way your drivers represent your business, the customer interaction, and any incident reporting as well. Okay, so driver conduct and behaviour policy. And you may see a little bit of overlap because in this next one I talk as well about incidents. The fifth one is around accident and incident reporting policy. And this sets out what drivers must do after any collisions, near misses, or causing damage to vehicles, including capturing any evidence and how they're going to report it. The purpose of this is to manage risk and exposure and ensure that there's a consistent process for investigation of collisions, near misses and damage.
Hi, I'm Shani from Flagship Partners. We're proud to sponsor the Fleet Geeks podcast, your go-to source for all things fleet management. If you're looking for expert advice or high-quality training for your fleet business, make Flagship Partners your first choice. We're also thrilled to announce the launch of our Fleet Academy, designed to support and develop future fleet leaders through expert-led and career-focused training. Our offering includes fully accredited courses such as the Transport Manager CPC training, CPC refresher courses, OLAT training, plus ongoing mentoring, support and professional development beyond the qualification. Our vision is simple: to develop elite fleet professionals who drive excellence across the industry. Let's shape the future of our fleet management together.
A tip from me is to include a flow chart of who to call and what info needs gathering, photos, witness details, dashcam footage, those kinds of things, to ensure that evidence isn't lost or missing, to enable a proper and thorough instant investigation. So that's the fifth one, accident and incident reporting policy. The sixth one for me is a fuel, emissions and environmental policy. So this details your approach to fuel efficiency, idling reduction, route planning and sustainability goals. Okay, so some people might have their own route planning policy, but within environmental, I just wanted to pull in there from an environment perspective, route planning, sustainability. You may also want to include within that route planning, for example, within this emissions and environmental policy, bridge strikes, for example. Okay. Purpose: supports your greener agenda and saves thousands, potentially saves you thousands in fuel. And link this to telematics reporting and driver performance reviews, making sure that the routes are properly maintained and stuck to ensure that fuel efficiency is properly recorded, and to ensure where necessary, you might decide to have your own bridge strike policy. But I only had 10, so I thought I'd shoehorn it into my fuel emissions and environmental policy for you guys. But you may decide to have your own bridge strike policy, but clue, this isn't within the 10 that I'm saying that you need at this point, but it may be one for you to consider. I think you should probably consider it maybe as an 11th policy. Like I say, I only had 10, so I wanted to cover 10 that I thought were really important for your operation and may sometimes get overlooked. The 7th one is around load security and safe loading policy. So this explains how loads are to be secured, checked and documented. The purpose of this is to reduce incidents, protect public safety and ensure that you satisfy the DVSA load enforcement checks. A tip for this will include any training and responsibilities you have in reference to safe loading and load security. Okay, so the 7th is around load security and safe loading. The 8th is around license and driver qualification policy. This covers how you check and monitor driver entitlements, driver CPC, medicals, endorsements. The purpose of this is to prevent unqualified or disqualified drivers from operating your vehicles. Really, really important to ensure that your drivers are properly qualified and able to operate your vehicles. You need to ensure that you're able to check for any changes in points history, so that can be notified to the traffic commissioner where necessary, and also to ensure that you maintain your insurance as well, because the challenge with around driver qualification and driver's points is there are certain codes on driver's licenses that have to be declared to your insurance company additionally, as well as some policies will say that if you've got drivers over 6 points, for example, they need to be notified to your insurance company as well. So license and driver qualification policy, really, really important. The 9th one for me is drugs, alcohol and fatigue policy. This lays out a company's zero tolerance approach to substance misuse, random testing and managing driver fatigue. So it could be part of a further wellbeing policy. You could tie that into this for simplicity as well. And where I'm giving you opportunity to tie in, if you've got a smaller organization, you might want to tie in some of these policies to make them a bit broader, covering some more areas, but to ensure that you've covered all bases. And obviously bigger organisations may want to have their own fatigue policy, one that stands alone. They may want to have their own bridge strike policy. They might want to have their own drug and alcohol policy as well as a wellbeing policy. But in this case, I'm thinking about smaller operators, for external transport managers or people new to the industry. A drugs, alcohol, and fatigue policy could knit quite nicely together. And this will include your stance on prescription medication and how fatigue concerns can be raised confidentially. It can cover all sorts of different areas around what you take a zero tolerance approach to and how you're going to manage drug and alcohol testing, as an example. And the 10th and final one, mobile phone telematics and technology use policy. Okay, and this defines the acceptable use of in-cab devices, telematics data, and dash cams. You may include satellite navigation in this policy as well, for example. But the purpose of this is to prevent distraction, misuse, and any data breaches. A tip for this is to be explicit about what you're going to monitor and how the data will be used to support you coaching from a coaching perspective, not just from a discipline perspective. There are lots of other policies that you could potentially have: disciplinary and performance management, training and competence. I mentioned bridge strike, wheel talk policy. There are lots and lots of other policies that you also need to consider. But for now, these were those top 10 for you to focus on that I think are really important to get nailed down. So, number 1, driver's hours and working time policy. 2, vehicle defect and daily walkaround check policy. 3, roadworthiness and maintenance policy. 4, driver conduct and behaviour policy. 5, accident and incident reporting policy. 6, fuel emissions and environmental policy. 7, load security and safe loading policy. 8, licence and driver qualification policy. 9, drugs, alcohol and fatigue policy. 10, mobile phone telematics and technology use policy. I hope this podcast has been useful. Please do tune in to future episodes. Make sure you follow, and I look forward to speaking to you on a future podcast. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please share with your friends and colleagues too. Join us for free on Facebook with the Fleet Geeks community for transport and fleet managers. Fleet Geeks offers ongoing professional development, networking and mentoring too. So get in touch with me, Pete Rushmer, on any social media platform to find out more.